Okay, guys, welcome back to Under the Influence. We are in a 3-part short series on the Kim Wall case, the unraveling of a delusion. I am Alexis Knight, and if you've been following along, you know that we've been diving into the chilling case of Kim Wall's murder. Now, in part 1, we explored the public and private sides of Peter Madsen, the man who was responsible for her death. And now in this episode, we're going to go deeper into the investigation, the trial, and the unraveling of the delusions that actually drove Madsen to commit this horrific crime. But now remember, as we go through this case, we are setting the stage for something bigger, understanding why it is that people in general in society, they just struggle to accept the influence of others, and that the influence of others can have an effect in driving people to commit crimes. Can we accept this? And then what does that look like? All right, well, let's get into this investigation and uncover the truth here. After Peter Madsen was rescued from the sinking submarine, authorities were immediately suspicious. His initial claim that he had dropped Kim Wall safely off was quickly contradicted by all the evidence. When Kim's dismembered remains were discovered, it became clear that this could not be an accident. Madsen's changing stories, from claiming that she had been accidentally killed by a hatch, to then saying, well, she died from carbon monoxide poisoning. I mean, all of this is just messy, and it deepens the investigator's belief that he is hiding the truth. And of course it would. Danish authorities, they conducted a thorough investigation, piecing together the events that led to Kim Wall's death. Forensic evidence from the submarine and Madsen's own home revealed this disturbing fascination with violent pornography and snuff films. This painted a picture of a man who was driven by dark fantasies. And these fantasies, combined with Madsen's desire for control, which was no secret, this all led to the brutal murder of Kim Wall. All right, the trial. This gives us a window into Madsen's mind, okay? The trial of Madsen, it was not just about proving his guilt. This was about understanding what drove him to commit this heinous act. The prosecution, they painted a picture of Madsen as this narcissistic psychopath. You know, someone who is obsessed with death and violence on top of being a narcissist. Okay, so they were arguing that he had meticulously planned this murder, luring Kim Wall onto his submarine with the complete intent of killing her and acting out his perverse fantasies. Well, Madsen's defense, they tried to argue that Kim's death was just an accident. But this was a narrative that quickly fell apart under the weight of all that evidence. His challenging stories, the horrific injuries inflicted on Kim's body, and the discovery of all this violent material that's in his possession, it all points to a calculated and deliberate act, something he would want to do. But beyond the evidence, this trial also gave us a glimpse into Madsen's mind. That's what we're interested in here. Psychologists testified about his lack of empathy, his need for control, and his inability to form genuine human connections. Madsen was portrayed as someone who was deeply delusional, but these delusions, in this case, were entirely self-generated, the product of his own twisted psyche. And this is something I want you to grasp as the listener here. He is doing this to himself. This is something that apparently we can accept. Well, let's get to the verdict then. What happened? All right, well, in April of 2018, Peter Madsen, he's found guilty of this premeditated murder, sexual assault, and the desecration of a corpse. Not pretty, okay? He's sentenced to life in prison, the maximum penalty in Denmark. The verdict was a relief for Kim Wall's family and friends, but like so many verdicts, it also left many wondering about how this could happen, how Madsen could have hidden this true nature of his for so long. I mean, this happens. We see serial killers do it. They have families and jobs and people like them and they look up to them. But on the other side of things, they have all this other stuff going on and they're doing it right under everyone's noses. They're just so believable on the good side, you don't even notice. It is insane. So this case, it brought up important questions, all right, about how society even deals with people who harbor violent delusions like this. Madsen, in this case, he was a public figure. He was admired publicly for his intelligence and even his creativity. Yet beyond all of that in the public, this is someone who was in the public, not just someone who went to work every day in the grocery store. And everyone believed him and liked him. Yet beneath all of that, there was this man who was capable of unimaginable violence. Something that if you look around at the people you know and accept, you just can't quite accept that maybe they could be capable of unimaginable violence. It's very hard for us to get our head around this stuff. This trial forced people, though, to confront the uncomfortable truth that delusions, when they are left unchecked, they can lead to devastating consequences because they blur the line, which I talked about in a previous case. So, okay, as we reflect on this case, the Kim Wall case, it becomes clear that Peter Madsen's actions, they were driven by his own demons, and that this is something that people can understand. People just accepted it. Okay, the guy has dark fantasies. He's his own twisted mess. He's got twisted desires. That's him. It's not us. It didn't involve anyone. It's safe because he's his own danger, just within himself. But as we move forward in this series here, we're going to explore cases where the delusion is not self-generated. Okay? We'll look at situations where individuals are driven to commit crimes, and it's not because of their own thoughts. It's because of the influence that someone else, or maybe it's a group of people, but either way, it's others. It is not the person. And this is where things get complicated. Society in general struggles to accept this. They just don't want to believe that someone could be so mentally hijacked by another person that they would commit an act completely out of character. Because this seems to cause a conflict in our brain. Does this absolve them of any responsibility? How does this work? Where does the responsibility begin and end? But as we'll see, these cases are happening, guys. They're out there and they're real. And where is the talk about this? Not enough of it, I think. These cases challenge our understanding of what free will is, of what responsibility is, and then the power of influence, of course. We think of substances, right? Under the influence, all right? Let's think of fentanyl. Let's think of methamphetamine and, weed that's now legal. Alcohol. We don't think of each other. It becomes a messy situation. But we're in it, guys, and we're going to be in it. Maybe we'll figure some stuff out here. So in this episode, the second episode of 3, we have taken a closer look at the investigation and trial of Peter Madsen, understanding how his self-generated delusions led to the murder of Kim Wall. But like I said, the story doesn't end here. Now, in the final part, episode 3 here, we're going to reflect on the broader implications of this case and set the stage for more complex and perhaps more uncomfortable cases to come, because that's where we need to be. The conversation always ends when it gets uncomfortable like this. But here, in the Under the Influence series here, we're not going to stop. We are going to get uncomfortable because that's how we take a look at things. All right, this is Alexis Knight. You are listening to Under the Influence. This is a 3-part series on Kim Wall and the effects of delusion. If you didn't listen to part 1, go back and get it, guys. You need the full story. And then this is episode 2, and of course, we're moving on to episode 3. I will see you there.